Welcome, my dear friends. Have a very good evening from my side. Few days ago, I came across a statement given by some renowned swami. He said that had the Swami Vivekanand been taking the Ayurvedic medicines, then he would have survived for much more longer period. But this is not actually correct. This is not right. Very few people really know the correct reason, real reason of the death of Swami Vivekanand. Once Swami Vivekanand was sitting with a friend of himself, who was also a sannyasi. And then they both were chatting on some issues. And incidentally, there only Swami Vivekananda said to his friend that I may not live for more than next 5 or 6 years. Obviously, his friend got annoyed with Swamiji and said, "You should not really speak like this." But Swamiji said, "You see that my consciousness is widening day by day to such a large extent as I feel in my heart, and has accommodated everything which is under perception, universal. That the intensity of my mind won't be able to support my body any further, as I presume, for more than 5 or 6 years. And exactly 6 years thereafter, Swamiji left the body. I made some interesting experiments when I came close to the state of self-realization. In fact, when I put dot upon the self-realization, then what I used to do, that I used to close my eyes and walk for few distances, few paces, then few more paces. And the divine light never used to disappear from my mind with eyes closed. Within very short time, I could understand that the God is everywhere, irrespective of your movement and your other activities. You see, it is very common to presume that there is a life and there is death. There is a birth and there is a death. This concept lingers on till you have not self-realized. आत्म साक्षात्कार जब तक आपको नहीं हुआ है, तभी तक जीवन और मृत्यु का प्रश्न उठता है। आत्म साक्षात्कार की स्थिति आने के बाद जब आप सदा के लिए उस ब्रह्म में लीन हो जाते हैं और आपका जो मन है, माइंड है, अपने स्कोप को इतना वाइडन कर लेता है कि जो ब्रह्म है, जो डिवाइन लाइट है, आपके मन में पूरी तरह से व्याप्त हो जाती है और वो किसी भी तरह से सदा आपके साथ रहती है, irrespective of your karmas. Though you will have to bear the pain of your karmas even in that period. But the thing is that now you have changed from bodies, you have changed from body to Atma, the self. And this self doesn't change, doesn't undergo mutation, is a source of bliss and happiness, is a source of knowledge, is a source of divinity. And it is irrespective of any kind of motion, speed, distance, and time in time and space. Then ultimately we come to realize कि ना तो मैं कभी आया था और ना मैं कभी जाऊंगा, ना ही आया था ना ही जाऊंगा। क्योंकि जब आप ब्रह्म साक्षात्कार को प्राप्त हो जाते हैं तब आप देखते हैं कि इस ब्रह्म का जन्म संभव नहीं है। जन्म सिंपली इसलिए संभव नहीं है कि टाइम एंड स्पेस में कोई एंटिटी ही नहीं है जिसको ब्रह्म कहा जा रहा, उसके ऊपर वो नियम ही नहीं लगते। When I was discussing about Stephen Hawking, then also I exposed this thing कि all the reasoning of time and space is not at all applicable on consciousness, and it is my humble request to those people who are experimenting with consciousness not to think in this way, that will be very counterproductive and they may come out with very strange notions which would not be correct and they will harm the humanity. So when you become purely conscious, or when you meet the purely conscious, then na janma, na mrityu, nothing is possible. You just do one thing, only you change your bodies like you change your clothes every day. Therefore, right almost at the beginning of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, Arjuna, this Brahma Gyan was given by me in the days of yoga to the sun. Then Arjuna got surprised and says, your life and my life are hardly some years old, and the sun is since time immemorial. Then how had you given this knowledge to sun? To this Lord Krishna replies that Arjuna, ऐसा कोई समय नहीं था जब मैं नहीं था और तू नहीं था, और ऐसा कोई समय नहीं होगा जब मैं नहीं होऊंगा और तू नहीं होगा। Arjuna could not understand this. Actually, very frankly speaking, Arjuna had a great problem with Gyan Yoga. And this text which I spoken right now is a direct descendant of the enlightenment out of Gyan Yoga. Therefore, in the first shloka of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 3, Arjuna says, जयसी चेत कर्मणास्ते मता बुद्धिर्जनार्दन तत्किम कर्मणि घोरे वाम नियोजसि केशव। अगर आपके लिए हे परम परमात्मा पुरुषोत्तम भगवान श्री कृष्ण ज्ञान मार्ग कर्म मार्ग से श्रेष्ठ है, तो आप मुझे इस घोर कर्म में जहाँ पर मैं कौरवों का वध करूँगा और कौरवों का वध करूँगा, उनमें से कोई मेरे पितामह हैं, कोई मेरे गुरु हैं, कोई मेरा भाई है। भगवान श्री कृष्ण ने उसका संक्षिप्त उत्तर दिया था कि सभी योग मुझ तक ही पहुंचते हैं। The greatest challenge that humanity is facing these days is not India-Pakistan war. India will definitely win, there is absolutely no doubt about it. The greatest issue in front of humanity is to change your learning procedure. The greatest challenge is to accommodate in your life the concepts of yoga and the practice of yoga like Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga and Prem Yoga also, instead of learning the text and scientific things. In fact, both will go hand in hand. What scientists have done so far is amazing by many standards, and they have so dutifully done it that our entire generation and the generation of our children and so on will always be obliged to them. But at the same time, this also throws our knowledge back to the ancient wisdom that India created, that India discovered. So what India discovered was this: that there is no death, there is no birth, there is no moment. And when you tend to happen and realize the Brahma, the divine light, everything in time and space disappears, including space. So the principles like Newton's theory of motion up to E is equal to mc square, they fall irrelevant. They excite only those minds which by way of evolution, on which Darwin hinted in a very superficial way. So these things are important. E is equal to mc square, Newton's law, second law of thermodynamics, which doesn't have any proof, as long as you have not realized Brahma. And when you realize Brahma, automatically you come to know, after a few days of practice, that the entire world and entire universe in broad daylight or even in night is just a dream. Very simply speaking, just a dream as you watch dreams during sleeping. It's a daydreaming. और वहां से निर्मोही होने का सिलसिला क्रम चल पड़ता है। इसमें थोड़ा समय और अभ्यास लगता है, वो इसलिए कि ह्यूमन माइंड का एवोल्यूशन by many standards it is millions of years old. So if you want to enter into the process which will de-recognize your evolution process and put in some other concepts in your brain based on self-realization, then it is going to be time-taking process. Not overnight you come to know that, oh, I am the Brahma, oh, I am this, oh, I am that. So it is very essential for human mind to consider this thing, that our education system, our scientific knowledges are good enough to destroy the earth, but they are not good enough to give life. Whereas the Brahma Gyan is good enough to give life, good enough to give a respectable death, and it is only out of this Brahma Gyana that intelligence develops, so far as you discover either Higgs boson particle or atom bombs. With the advent of science, you have done a lot of things which are very, very good and extremely appreciable, but you have lost control on yourself, and now you have become an enemy of yourself. Anybody who is interested in the study of consciousness, I can share my experiences. Through which I daily go, every day. You will never be happy. Let the science develop as far as it can. Let the science develop as far as contacting other forms of life if they are there in Alpha Centauri or any other planet. There is simply no way out for satisfying the mind except self-realization. Knowledge cannot do it. It can only come by bodha, the realization of self, the Atma, the Brahma. And then you will come to know that you are not this body, and entire perception towards the world will change significantly to such an extent that you will really enjoy living. Go to the great masters and learn from them. If you are an IAS and you think an IAS, that's pity. It's pity, it's a pitiable situation, and it is a very dangerous state of mind. Even as an IAS officer with all the powers and decorum that the government of India gives, let me tell you, most of you are digging your graves. That's all. Don't ignore the God who is in the heart of you. Regenerate yourself. Let the enormous energy of your mind may be reignited, and then this energy of the mind that you reignite would make your life very positive, very satisfying, and very happy. Thank you. Thank you very much.